This meeting is being recorded and streamed via the Council website. Good afternoon, councillors, staff and members of the public. Please be upstanding for our Mayor, Councillor Straub.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Council's opening affirmation is: we, the councillors of Loddon Shire, declare that we'll carry out our duties in the best interests of the community and through collective leadership will maintain the highest standards of good governance.
The Loddon Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land upon which we are gathered and pays its respects to elders both past and present. Please be seated.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald, and welcome all to our August Council meeting. Welcome to the members of our gallery today, and a special mention and acknowledgement of Mr Peter Watts, former Loddon Shire Commissioner. Welcome and thank you for being here today. We also welcome all attending via our video stream. Councillors, as per usual, we start the meeting with our apologies. Now, we do have an apology from Councillor Holt today, and I would like to please call for a motion that we accept the apology of Councillor Holt. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A show of hands in favour. And that motion of apologies is accepted. Thank you very much. Councillors, conflicts of interest to declare. Is there any conflicts to declare on any agenda items today? There's not. No. Thank you. Councillors, we have a public question received through the parameters of our public question time under our governance rules. And as Council has received the public questions that meets all parameters, I would like to please suspend standing orders and allow that the question be put. So councillors, I'm moving to the suspension of standing orders, and I would like a councillor please happy to second to that motion. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Excellent. Councillors, the question is, councillors have the ability to call for a Councillors have the ability to call for a division before or after voting on a motion. A motion that results in councillors voting being recorded in the minutes for or against. This powerful tool in the councillors' kit increases community transparency through the minutes. With this in mind, could you please remind councillors of the purpose of the division in council debate? Thank you for that question. That was received by our CEO and submitted by a member of the public. We do have a response to provide to that question, and the response to that question is that councillors have discussed the governance rules, including those relating to meeting procedures, during the mandatory council induction and also during the mandatory council induction following the 2024 elections. And we've also discussed this today in council briefing and at our council August forum. And councillors are well aware of our governance rules for voting and calling for a division, and that councillors may choose to utilise this as required. So I thank you for the question, and that is our response. We do have parameters in our governance rules that councillors are well aware of. So we'll leave it at that, and we do welcome any questions to be submitted via the parameters laid out in our governance rules. So, councillors, we've dealt with our public question time. I'll now seek a motion to resume standing orders. And councillors, can I please have a motion to resume standing orders? Now we've dealt with that. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And Councillor Weaver to second online. Thank you very much. Show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We can now move along into the main body of our agenda pack today for the August meeting. And as always, we start with 5.1, the confirmation of minutes. Councillors, I'll take those minutes being read, and I'll first ask if there's any questions, queries or comments regarding the minutes of previous. No? Councillors, I'll seek a motion, please, to those minutes being true and correct. Is there a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. That Councillor Wilson to second. A show of hands in favour. And that is also carried. Council's auspiced meetings. 6.1, the record of Council's auspiced meetings, and I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council's governance rules require a record of meetings conducted under the auspices of Council to be presented at the next available scheduled Council meeting for confirmation. That record must include which councillors and officers were in attendance, any matters which were considered in summary form, and a record of any conflicts of interest that were disclosed. Attached to this report is that summary, and the recommendation is that Council confirm the records of the following auspiced meetings as detailed within this report. 1, the Council briefing held 22 July 2025, and 2, the Council forum held 12 August 2025. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, as usual, any questions, queries or comments regarding those auspiced meetings? If not, I'll ask for a councillor prepared to move. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Review of action sheets, 7.1. Mr Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. Councillors, a document containing the status of actions associated with council resolutions is attached to this agenda report. I'm very pleased to say that there were no outstanding actions from meeting resolutions prior to July, which is good to be back on track after having cleared the backlog. And also pleasing is that all 14 actions that arose from the July Council meeting have been actioned and completed. So the recommendation is that Council receive and note the status of Council resolution actions as attached to the report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
I'd just like to commend the CEO and the executive on their focus on these actions and getting through them. It's good to see that we are on track in terms of how we address the decisions that we make, which could very easily just be made and, let aside. So it's very good to see.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I'll take that as a statement. Would you be happy to move to the review of action sheets? Thank you very much. Is there a councillor prepared to second? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Moving right along to our report section of today's agenda, and I'll start with the mayoral report. I'll be relatively brief today. And I will go back to the very first day of August. The Council, as a member of Rural Councils Victoria, has an opportunity to attend the Rural Councils Victoria Forum every year. So myself, along with Mr Fitzgerald, our CEO, travelled to Yarrawonga to participate in the forum. The forum was comprised of other rural councils across Victoria. I think there's 32 rural councils that are members of the partnership, and we sit down in this forum and discuss a lot of relative topics to local government. There was a lot of conversation regarding the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund, which most would be aware, Loddon has been leading the way in advocacy for our ratepayers in that space, and there is a lot of support from other municipalities also fighting back against that, what we are deeming as an unfair tax on ratepayers across Victoria. Other topics discussed at RCV this year was, again, issues around housing and housing developments across small rural councils, and how we can be better equipped to put in parameters to allow for expansion and population growth in many different areas. A lot of this is advocacy work, but there is some councils that have taken some other steps to help their communities deliver those housing quotas. There was lots of conversation around long-term financial sustainability. That's obviously a very big topic that Loddon is discussing very regularly, and even today we had a first look at some of our long-term financial planning parameters that we will be deliberating over in the coming months. But it's very interesting that there is a real issue across all municipalities, not just rural councils, but all 79 councils across Victoria are having trouble with financial sustainability. So there's been a lot of work in that place. And just to note, we received a presentation from the Hepburn CEO regarding the rate evaluations that they received and their process in putting or applying for a rate cap variation for this next financial year. So that's something that councils have been discussing. Loddon has made no decisions in that space at this date, but it was just very interesting to see what other councils are doing to combat their financial sustainability issues. Very worthwhile meeting, and I was very happy to represent Loddon Shire on the day, as well as Mr Fitzgerald. Moving along, there has been a number of community meetings that I've taken place or participated in over the past month. The Midiamo Progress Association, it's always great to get to Midiamo and be part of their progress meetings and help direct to where I can in the way of council matters and the community. I also had a sit down through our community consultation group regarding a proposed mining project that's happening within Midiamo that Catalyst has been developing over a number of years now. So there were some updates in there about that project and the progression, which is very, very slow. Not a lot happening there to report on at the moment. And also conducting conversations with the Pyramid Hill Historical Society in regards to what their future may look like in a new building, which again is still in the planning process, or is probably before the planning process, I should say. We're not trying to raise any expectations there, but there's some key projects that are happening within the Terrick ward at the moment at Pyramid Hill. Likewise, this month I attended the North Central Local Learning and Employment Network Finance and Risk Committee meeting on Wednesday the 13th, and then followed on Tuesday the 19th with the North Central Local Learning and Engagement Employment Network. I usually just say the acronym North Central LEN, but I'm trying to explain to the community the meaning of the words. I say it a lot, being the chair of the board, but I did attend the board meeting. As we know, Loddon, Bull Oak and Northern Grampians are key local government partners with that organisation, delivering worthwhile education and employment projects throughout our local schools and offering services from 0 to 21 in the way of education and support, which I'm very proud to be a part of that with the support of Loddon Shire. And one last thing that I will report on is the Pyramid Hill Progress Association, which quite regularly get up to the Pyramid Hill Progress Association meetings. This one was held on Wednesday the 20th and was very pleased to be joined by Director of Operations, Mr. Steve Van Orso, our Manager of Assets, Mr. David Southcombe, and our Manager of Projects, Mr. Bruce Arthur, to talk to the community group regarding some key projects that have happened in the Pyramid Hill area and the prospect of developing a sort of committee group looking into road condition parameters and how a working group might complement Shire's asset program moving forward. So we thank the staff members for attending that meeting. I know we don't tend to make a big deal of that, but it is a big deal, being these meetings are always conducted out of hours and usually a lot of travel involved. So I know the community was very appreciative of your attendance at that meeting. I'm going to leave it there. There's been a lot happening. There's a lot still to happen, and look forward to reporting back at our next council meeting. Councillors, I will seek a motion, if I could please, to table my mayoral report for August. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Angelo, thank you very much. A show of hands in favour. And that is also carried. 9.1, council reports. Councillors, we will go around the room and deliver our August council reports. I will start with Councillor Angelo first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 13th of August, I attended a VFF meeting in Newbridge. Got to meet a few more of the local farmers, and some good conversations were had. Pardon me. I'll comment for all of Loddon Shire. Australia Day nominations are now open. This is a good chance for you to remember those hard-working local volunteers in your community. So, as I said, Australia Day nominations are now open. So, and that's about it from me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. I'll go to Councillor Weaver online, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 1st of August, I travelled to Melbourne for the Rail Freight Alliance meeting. On the 4th of August, I attended the Port Tourism and Development meeting. On the 17th of August, I opened the Port Indoor Bias Bowls tournament. It's their annual tournament, the 50th year of the club. They had 80 participants, some from as far as Mildura and Warrnambool, and that was held on the new surface in the Port Sporting Complex, and it was an event that went very well. And then on the 20th of August, I dropped into the Mechanics Hall in Coorong Vale and met a few of the locals and had a lovely morning tea with them. And then also on the 20th, I went to lunch at the Port Senior Citizens, and I chaired their AGM and elections, and it was a very nice meal. That's about all from me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. And today we'll finish with Councillor Wilson, please.
So, thank you, Mayor. So one of the positives coming out of COVID is the ability to be able to work remotely. So whilst people may think I've been swanning around in Queensland on a holiday, I will update you with what I've been able to do remotely. On the 22nd of July, I was in participated in a VGLA, which is the Victorian Local Government Association Global Forum, which is on growing local economies. It's a fascinating opportunity to hear from councillors and councils from all over the world about challenges that we all seem to face. Growing local economies was a very interesting one. But as it turned out, probably the best speaker was actually from Mount Alexander Shire in Victoria, who was talking about the value of a local economy not necessarily just being measured by dollars. This notion that the value of the local economy being what that circular economy and what the benefit of that sort of economy does for the well-being of the community. It was absolutely fascinating and full of a lot of ideas. On the 30th, I participated in the Inglewood Streetscape Community Advisory Group meeting, which was an update on where the project's at, a bit of a discussion about some miscommunication had gone on, and I suppose perhaps the unfortunate trend of people to go straight to social media to get their information about something rather than perhaps going to the council website to get the information directly themselves. But that was all managed extremely well. On the 31st of July, the IDTC, the Inglewood District and Tourism Committee meeting, their monthly meeting. On the 5th of August, I tuned in remotely to the council plan workshop, which was an all-day event that we had. On the 11th of August, I participated in the Not in Our Name meeting, Not in Our Name being the name of the action group being formed by the United Firefighters Union and grain corporations around objecting to the Emergency Services Volunteer Levy. That meeting was particularly about the outcomes of the Moonee Valley meeting that had occurred. I will get to that. The 12th of August, we had the council forum. On the 18th of August, there was another Not in Our Name meeting, which is about the development of a subcommittee working group of councillors. I've nominated myself on that group as one of the two Western Council representatives, myself and a councillor from Ararat. And really that discussion was about broadening who is aware of the impact of this Emergency Services Volunteer Levy and how it's going to impact commercial properties, how it's going to impact businesses and residents, and certainly about how it's going to impact metropolitan councils where that message hasn't become across quite clearly. I was tasked at the end of that meeting with going away and looking at organisations that we may be able to get involved in this action, potentially organisations like the Australian Retailers Association, the Victorian Employer and Chamber of Commerce and Industry, perhaps even groups like the CWA. So about getting formal organisations involved in that. On the 21st of August, I attended the BOLD meeting remotely. Most of that was spent talking about what's going on next Tuesday with the Melbourne Cup event, with the Cup coming to Bridgewater, going to the Inglewood District Hospital as the nominated charity for that event. And on the 22nd of August, last Friday, I attended the Inglewood Elderly Persons Unit AGM, which looked at how the performance of that committee has operated over the past years in the management of the two elderly person units that we have in Sullivan Street and Inglewood, and that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, I've got would like to seek a motion that those council reports be accepted and tabled. Councillor prepared to move. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A show of hands in favour, and they are carried. Thank you very much. Everyone has been very busy as per usual. There's a lot going on at the moment. And it is always great to be out and about in our communities, working together side by side. It's very rewarding when you can work well with community groups and get some productivity happening. Councillors, we have 8 reports for decision today. 2 reports listed in this section of the agenda will be moved and considered prior to agenda item 11.1 in the information report section. Further, 1 report listed in the compliance section of the agenda will be considered immediately following agenda item 11.7. Councillors, in light of the rearrange of the agenda items, I seek a motion that the order of business be changed to consider agenda items 10.4 and 10.6 prior to agenda item 11.1 and agenda item 12.1 immediately following agenda items 11.7. Councillors, do I have a councillor prepared to move to that motion? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Show of hands in favour. Thank you, councillors. That is carried. All right, councillors. First decision report today is 10.1. Planning application 6072. Use of land for gold mining under the Code of Practice at 166 Alexander Lane, Llanelli. And I'll ask Director Van also, please, to take us through the report and recommendation.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straub. This report before you relates to Planning Permit Application 6072, which proposes to use the use of land at 166 Alexander Lane, Llanelli for gold mining under the Code of Practice for Low Risk Mines. The application has been assessed in accordance with the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and the relevant provisions of the Loddon Planning Scheme. A site inspection was conducted and public notification carried out, resulting in 2 objections being received. The Planning Officer has completed a detailed assessment and the recommendation provided is based on the proposal's alignment with planning policy, land use compatibility and the potential impact on existing agricultural operations. The recommendation before you is that Council, being the responsible authority, having considered all matters which the Planning and Environment Act 1987 requires it to consider, decides to issue a notice of decision to refuse planning permit application 6072 for use of the land for gold mining subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the proposal is inconsistent with clause 14.01-1S, protection of agricultural land of the Loddon Planning Scheme, including the following strategies. In considering a proposal to use, subdivide or develop agricultural land, consider the following. Desirability and impacts of removing the land from primary production given its agricultural productivity, impacts on the continuation of primary production on adjacent land with particular regard to land values and the viability of infrastructure for such production, compatibility between the proposed or likely development and the existing use of the surrounding land, the potential impacts of land use and development on the spread of plant and animal pests from areas of known infestation into agricultural areas, land capability. 2, the proposal is inconsistent with clause 14.01-1L, agricultural of the Loddon Planning Scheme. 3, the proposal is inconsistent with the purpose and decision guidelines of clause 35.07, farming zone of the Loddon Planning Scheme. Number 4, the gold mining would compromise the operational efficiency of the existing agricultural use. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Van also. That recommendation, along with the 4-point parameters that you've just read out. We thank you for that. Councillors, the recommendation is stated. I will always put it up for any questions, queries or comments at this stage before I ask if there's a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation stated. No questions? No? I will then move to ask for a councillor happy to move a motion to the effect of our recommendation in front of us. Is there a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a councillor prepared to second? Councillor prepared to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, would you like the opportunity to speak to your motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Victorian soil is the most productive soil in Australia, and I think it's something that needs to be protected. You know, we need to protect productive farmland. So, like last year, $22 billion in Victoria from its soil. So, it's a no from me. So. As I say, it's something we need to protect, and I agree with everything that's been stated in the yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak to your seconded motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? No? In that case, I will ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Planning decisions are always quite difficult, and we can only do as we can under planning provisions. There's lots of legislation to play within the Planning Act, and recommendations come forward, and council makes a unanimous decision, and that decision is final. So thank you very much. Moving along, make sure that I'm in order through my run sheet. 10.2, the adoption of the on-site wastewater management plan, and I'll ask please Director Gladman to take us through the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this report seeks adoption of the on-site wastewater management plan 2025 to 2030. The draft plan was presented at the July council meeting and subsequently placed on public display from 23 July to the 13th of August. During that time, there were 47 visits to the webpage, 23 downloads of the document, and 1 formal submission received. The submission raised operational matters that will be addressed directly with the submitter and required no changes to the draft plan. The updated on-site wastewater management plan ensures council continues to meet its obligations under the Environment Protection Act 2017 and our broader public health responsibilities. The recommendation is that council adopt the on-site wastewater management plan 2025 to 2030. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Gladman, and we also thank the members of the public that submitted that response too. It's always good to have community feedback with any of our policies and plans that we develop. Councillors, I'll ask if there's any questions, queries or comments before I ask if a councillor is prepared to move to the recommendation that we adopt. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor prepared to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Angelo? No. Thank you very much. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving right along to 10.3, the adoption of council's road management plan. Another very important plan that council's been developing, and I'll ask Director Van also please to take us through the report and recommendation.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straub. The report before you is to consider the Draft Road Management Plan 2025. The Draft Road Management Plan has been prepared in accordance with the relevant sections of the Road Management Act 2004 and the Road Management Regulations 2016. It outlines council's responsibilities for the inspection, maintenance and repair of its road and footpath assets and sets out the standards and response times for addressing defects across the network. The Road Management Plan is a key strategic document that supports the safe, efficient and sustainable operation of our public road infrastructure. It promotes transparency and accountability in how council manages its assets and helps mitigate risks to road users by incorporating risk management principles into our maintenance practices. The current version of the plan adopted in 2021 has been reviewed as required during the same period as the preparation of council's broader council plan under the Local Government Act 2020. This review ensures that the plan remains aligned with legislative requirements and community expectations. The Draft Road Management Plan 2025 includes administrative updates only. No changes have been made to service levels or intervention standards. The proposed updates are administrative in nature and do not alter the existing service levels. The adoption of the updated plan will support continued safe, efficient and sustainable road network operations across the municipality. The recommendation before you is that Council, number 1, adopt the Draft Road Management Plan 2025. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, is there any questions, queries or comments at this stage? We've had a good look at this document. We've had some pretty good explanation around how this document works, and we are now at the point of adopting it after it had been out for community consultation with no response. I will ask for a councillor prepared to move. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe that if there was one document I would ask everybody in the community to read, it would probably be this one. Road management is such an issue for all councils and certainly for us as a council because our road network is so extensive. This is such a thorough document and it so clearly outlines what the risks are, how they're managed, what defects are, what those defect periods are, what the different levels of roads are, what roads we're responsible for, what roads we're not responsible for. And it is such an important document, not only in terms of guiding what we do, but also assisting in the guidance of what it's all going to cost. But it's certainly a document that the councils refer to. But for some light reading, I would urge the community to read this because it is an excellent piece of information for us to understand how we manage this really important issue for the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to take this opportunity to commend Director Van also on the document and the strategies, and his team's doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. There's no further councillors wishing to speak for or against. I will put it to the vote and ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we're now going to jump to 10.5 and we'll consider 10.4 shortly. The new 10.5 is their draft asset plan 2025, and that can be found on page 70. If you'd like a moment to find page 70 in your agenda pack. And then I'll ask Director Van also please to deliver that recommendation along with its report, please. I'll just give everyone a moment. We're all happy. Page 170. Director Van Osso.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straw. The Draft Asset Plan 2025 is presented to Council in accordance with the requirements of the Victorian Local Government Act 2020, which mandates the development and maintenance of a long-term asset plan following each general election. This plan outlines Council's strategic approach to managing its infrastructure assets over the next 10 financial years, ensuring that assets are maintained, renewed and upgraded to meet community needs and service level expectations. The Draft Asset Plan 2025 builds upon the original plan adopted in 2022, incorporating updated financial data, revised asset valuations and increased funding allocations, particularly through the Roads to Recovery program. It reflects Council's commitment to responsible asset stewardship and long-term financial sustainability, while also acknowledging the renewal funding gap and identifying strategies to mitigate this impact. To ensure the plan reflects community priorities and values, Council officers propose a series of engagement activities to seek public feedback. These activities are designed to meet the deliberative engagement requirements of the Act and include online publication, referral to the community reference group and listening posts across key townships. The recommendation before you is that Council note the Draft Asset Plan 2025 and seek community feedback, including but not limited to the following activities. Number 1, publish the Draft Asset Plan 2025 on Council's website for a minimum of 3 weeks. 2, refer the Draft Asset Plan 2025 to the Community Reference Group, CRG. And 3, undertake listening posts in the townships of Boort, Inglewood, Newbridge, Pyramid Hill and Wedderburn. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, I'll open it up for any questions, queries or comments. Another document that Council has had a number of sessions to consider and develop this draft asset plan, and at this point in time we'll put it out for community feedback before we formally adopt it later on in the year. Councillor Wilson with a question.
A comment, Mayor. Obviously, an awful lot of work has been done in this asset plan by council officers, and they're to be commended for it. In particular, one of the things they need to be commended for is our renewal gap improvement, which is so pleasing to see, and that comes through their hard work. So they're to be commended on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. No further questions. I'll ask for a councillor to please move to the recommendation as stated in the. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Angelo?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No. Councillor Wilson, you've probably said enough. You've got the opportunity to speak again if you'd like. Excellent. No. Thank you, councillors. I'll put it to the vote in favour of the recommendation, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we'll now jump to 10.7 and we'll consider 10.6 shortly. 10.7, the delegation review, Council to Chief Executive Officer. That can be found on page 200, and I'll give you a moment to find page 200 in the agenda pack, and then we'll go to Director Stedman to please deliver that report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. The next few reports regarding delegations will be with me to introduce, so hopefully my voice holds out and you can bear with me through that. But firstly, introducing this report regarding a review of Council's delegation to the Chief Executive Officer. Delegation to the CEO is an important aspect of Council's governance structure that enables efficient decision-making and management of Council business, while ensuring accountability and timely review of this ensures it remains relevant to the business of Council. Two changes proposed from Council's previously adopted instrument of delegation to the CEO include wording related to the instrument coming into force and the replacement of reference to the Fire Services Property Levy with the Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund Levy following recent commencement of state government legislation. Councillors, the recommendation with you today on this report is that Council resolves to 1, to delegate to the person acting in or performing the duties of Chief Executive Officer the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately when signed by the Chief Executive Officer and the Mayor. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. And 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of Council that it may from time to time adopt. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, opportunity for any questions, comments or queries? If not, I will ask if there's a councillor prepared to move a motion to the effect of the recommendation stated. Councillor happy to move. Sorry, Councillor Angelo. Thank you. Is there a councillor prepared to second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, would you like the opportunity to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Weaver, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? No. I will ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. A little bit of a technical issue there, rectified.
All good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director. Okay, moving along to 10.8, delegation review, cancel to members of council staff. Director Steadman again, please.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. Another report regarding a review of one of Council's delegations, this time to council staff. This is another instrument that allows the business of council to occur efficiently and effectively, and there are a number of changes across this instrument that are outlined in the report. And the recommendation with councillors today is that council resolves 1, to delegate authority to the members of council staff holding, acting in or performing the roles and duties referred to in the attached instrument of delegation to members of council staff. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately when signed by the Chief Executive Officer and the Mayor. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to members of council staff other than the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. And 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, there's a long list of delegations that we've read through. All of those delegations state the staff member charged with the responsibility. A lot of them are statutory obligations that council must delegate the duty of. Is there any further questions, queries, comments? If not, I will ask if there's a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation stated. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A councillor prepared to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Angelo? No. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. 10.9, the instrument of subdelegation, council to staff, Environment Protection Act 2017. Director Steadman again, please.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors. Further to the recent reports considered, this report reviews delegations associated with the efficient delivery of the duties of council under the Environment Protection Act 2017. The recommendation with you in this instance is that Council, in the exercise of the power conferred by Section 437, Clause 2 of the Environment Protection Act 2017 and the instrument of delegation of the Environment Protection Authority under the Act dated 4th of June 2021, that Council resolves 1, there be delegated to the members of Council staff holding, acting in or performing the duties of the officers or positions referred to in the attached instrument of subdelegation to members of council staff, the powers, duties and functions set out in that instrument, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, that the instrument comes into force immediately when signed by the Chief Executive Officer and Mayor. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous subdelegations to members of staff under the Environment Protection Act 2017 are revoked. And 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instruments must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. We've had a good chance to look at this document as well. Is there any late questions, queries or comments? Is there a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation of this delegation? Councillor prepared to move? Are you, sorry, Councillor Weaver, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm still with you, Just.
Thank you. I'm looking for a councillor to move to recommendation stated in 10.9. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, I'll give you the opportunity to speak if you'd like. Councillor Weaver, the same opportunity.
No, thank you, Mr.
Any
Mayor.
other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you very much. 10.10, another delegation review, council to members of council staff, Marine Safety Act 2010. Thank you, Director Steadman, again.
Thank you again, Mayor and councillors. The last report of this kind with you today related to the delegations from council, and this one associated with delegation of staff under the Marine Safety Act 2010. And with the minor changes to the instrument noted within the report, councillors, the recommendation with you today is that council, in the exercise of the power conferred by section 217 of the Marine Safety Act 2010, as waterway manager for the Loddon River and Little Lake Board, resolves 1, that there be delegated to members of council staff holding, acting in or performing the duties of officers or positions referred to in the attached instrument of delegation to members of council staff, the powers, duties and functions set out in that instrument, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in the instrument. 2, that the instrument comes into force immediately when signed by the Chief Executive Officer and Mayor. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to members of council staff under the Marine Safety Act 2010 are revoked. And 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instrument must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Your mic, Dan.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Thank you, Director Steadman, for that report. As noted, that council is the authorised department for 2 bodies of water, stated there in the report. and the position stated quite clearly in the tables attached to our agenda. 4-point recommendation. Do I have a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver to second. Thank you very much. Councillor Wilson, would you like the opportunity to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Councillors, we'll move into our information reports now, and we have 9 reports for information today. And we are now going to circle back to 10.4, the Annual Infrastructure Program Quarterly Update, and that will be found on page 165. I'll give councillors a moment to scroll back to 165, and then I'll ask Director Van also to please take us through the recommendation and the report, please. We're all back at the right spot. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straub. This report provides an update on the progress of Loddon Shire Council's annual infrastructure program for 2024-2025 financial year as at the end of June 2025. I'm pleased to report that Council has achieved a 90% completion rate across the program's 72 projects, which includes both new works and carryovers from previous years. This is a notable improvement compared to previous years and reflects strong coordination, planning and delivery across the departments. The completed works span a wide range of infrastructure categories from local roads and bridges to parks, buildings and major projects, demonstrating Council's ongoing commitment to maintaining and improving community assets. While a small number of projects remain in progress due to the factors such as weather and permit delays, they are actively being managed and are expected to be completed in the near term. This report highlights the positive outcomes of Council's investment in infrastructure. Recommendation before you is that Council note the progress of the Annual Infrastructure Program 2024-2025 as at June 2025. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van. Also, councillors, we've got a lot of data here in the information report. I'll ask if there's any questions before I seek a motion. No questions. I will seek a motion to move the information report be noted. Councillor, happy to move, please. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. As always, I'll give each councillor opportunity to speak to their motions. Councillor Weaver.
No, thank you.
Councillor,
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, you like the opportunity? No. I'd just like to add, we've got a very comprehensive, detailed report as we expect each quarter that everything I would say you'd be quite happy and pleased. 90% of the projects completed, 65 projects with 7 projects underway or starting, with 1.15 million spent out of 9.4 at this stage. So things seem to be tracking quite good there and delivering those projects on the ground. In that case, councillors, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving along to 10.6, the Flood Program Quarterly Update. Now, we'll have to circle back to page 195. I'll give you a moment, councillors, to find your right page in your agenda pack. We'll give you a moment, Councillor Wilson, if you'd like.
Given the instruction on how to find it quickly.
Excellent. Director Van also, please.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straub. This report provides Council with a quarterly update on the progress of the flood restoration program, covering activities and outcomes up to the end of June 2025. The report outlines restoration efforts following both the October 2022 and December 2023 flood events. For the October 2022 event, 675 damage items remain active, with 33% of the work completed and a further 99 in progress. Council has submitted all required claims to the disaster recovery funding arrangements, with over $5.4 million reimbursed and additional claims pending. Most council flood support fund projects are now completed, including emergency repairs and flood mitigation works, with the Nardoo Trail and Skinner's Flat Reservoir design underway. The December 2023 program is in its early stages, with 97 items identified and scoping ongoing. The recommendation before you is that Council note the progress of the flood restoration program as of June 2025. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, I'll open it up for any last questions regarding this quarterly report. We've got some tables of figures. We all know it's been a very slow process. If not, I'll ask for councillors prepared to move that this report be noted. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak if you'd like.
I'll reserve that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Angelo? No? Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? In that case, a show of hands in favour, please. And that is carried. Just a closing comment. It's been an uphill battle, this flood recovery program. We've been no secret. We've been very transparent to the community about the issues, and council's been very strong in their advocacy to make sure appropriate funding parameters have been allotted to do our, very major, repair work to our infrastructure. It is good to see that there's a number of projects that have been completed, and this will be another big 12 months to complete another parcel of works, and that the community will definitely start seeing those benefits over the next months. So thank you. We all know it's been an uphill battle, and we're starting to get some real positive progress there. So we'll look forward to the next report to see how things are tracking. Moving along, we are moving to 11.1. So councillors, we'll flick back to page 323, our Library Services Quarterly Activity Report, and I'll give councillors a moment to find their page, and then I'll ask Mr. Fitzgerald to deliver the quarterly report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. I think councillors are good to go. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Library Services Quarterly Report. Obviously, being for the period to June 30, there's a lot of activity reports on today because it is a bit of a report card on how some of our services went in the last financial year. So I do want to thank the staff for all the work that's gone into these. Today, I'm presenting on the Library Services Quarterly Activity Report for the period April to June 2025. This is the final report for the year, and it really seeks to update councillors on the activities that have occurred. I just want to highlight a few things. I want to reiterate the change in the funding scenario. A service once funded 50-50 between the state and local government is now funded 75% or just over by local government, with the balance from the state government and philanthropic sources. And the information that's been added into this quarterly report is the findings of the parliamentary inquiry into local government sustainability, which actually had a recommendation around library funding, and it was pretty disappointing to see the response from the Department of Government Services who did not support the recommendation to return to a dollar-for-dollar funding arrangement. And I'll let people peruse the report there at their leisure. On a more positive note though, the activity report's really positive. As you can see, we've had a massive improvement in terms of the number of items that have been loaned, and that includes the e-library. So over 40,000 items were actually borrowed from our library service, which is a fantastic improvement. 15,000 people visited our library services, 63 new members, about 100 events and programs, and 1,500 people roughly attended various activities at our libraries through the agency. So whether that was children's story time, etc., it's a really positive impact on people's lives. So it's a really good service, something to be celebrated and provided at a good value level in partnership with other municipalities as a shared service. The recommendation, councillors, is that council receive and note the Loddon Shire Council Library Services Quarterly Activity Report for April to June 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, I'll open up if there's any late questions, queries or comments. If not, I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation that we note the Loddon Shire Council Library Services Quarterly Activity Report. Councillor Angelo, thank you very much. Councillor prepared to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Hand up, thank you very much. Councillor Angelo, I'll give you the opportunity to speak.
I'll speak briefly. Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's a shame that they won't go dollar for dollar, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're having to cop up to the 75%, which obviously means that's less we can do in other spots around the area. So anyway, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's a great service that we help provide there, and well done to all involved.
Thank you. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? No. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. I'd just like to comment there as I can as Mayor after the decision has been made, and thank Councillor Angelo and Mr Fitzgerald for being Loddon Shire delegates on the Goldfields Library Board, and reports like this always show that our library agencies scattered across Loddon, our 6 library agencies, are still very important entity to our community and well utilised. It is still a very important aspect of community across Loddon, and we can see a prime example here of cost shifting parameters from state government that ultimately local government picks up the slack on. Thank you, councillors. Moving along to 11.2, Road Management Plan Defect I always stumble on this word. Rectification Compliance Report. Director Van, also help me out, please.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straw. This report presents Loddon Shire Council's performance in managing its local road network during Q4 of the 2024-25 financial year in accordance with requirements of Council's Road Management Plan. The report highlights strong performance in managing Council's road network, with 100% of scheduled inspections completed on time and nearly 99% of identified defects rectified within the required timeframes. In terms of defect rectification, Council achieved 1,269 of the 1,283 defects resolved within the required timeframes. This demonstrates Council's ongoing commitment to maintaining a safe and reliable road network in accordance with the standards set out in the Road Management Plan. Grading works also performed well, with over 99% of actions completed within the scheduled timeframes and more than 480 kilometres of roads graded during the quarter. These results reflect the effectiveness of Council's proactive maintenance approach and the dedication of our works team. The recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the Road Management Plan Defect Rectification Compliance Report. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, I'll open up for any questions, queries or comments. Again, we're always very pleased with the detail that these reports provide us, and we can make comment on any factor there, and it's great to see those 100% on a lot of those projects happening across Loddon for the last quarter. Councillors, I'll ask for a councillor prepared to move that the council report be noted. Councillor Angelo, thank you. Councillor to second. Councillor Wilson. Councillor Angelo, I'll give you the opportunity to speak if you would like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wilson, opportunity to speak.
Mayor, just to note that it's a very good report in terms of officers meeting their obligations in terms of what we agree to do. So it's great to see us setting plans where we're we're going to do something and how we're going to do it, and then we actually can demonstrate that that's what we do. So again, the officers involved to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Very relevant comments. Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. Sorry, Councillor Weaver, you'd like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I just like to agree with everything Councillor Wilson just said. Councillor Wilson said it very well, but they get onto their defects in a timely manner and they're fixing them properly. A lot of flood-prone roads in our shire, but the roads we're accountable for, they're doing a pretty good job. So well done to Mr. Van also and his team.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Moving along to 11.3, our Public Health Quarterly Activity Report. And I'll ask Director Gladman, please, to deliver the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this is the final Public Health Quarterly Activity Report for the 24-25 year, covering the period from April to June. It provides quarterly data, and as this is the last report for the year, some annual data has also been included. Key activities for the quarter included 18 inspections of registered premises, with all premises compliant or requiring only minor follow-up, and no major non-compliances recorded. 6 Tobacco Act inspections were completed at food and dining venues, 13 septic tank permits were processed, and 7 public health complaints were received. Looking across the full financial year, 150 inspections were carried out in total, with very low rates of major non-compliance. 44 septic tank permits were processed, and a steady level of tobacco inspections were completed. Overall, compliance to the various legislation implemented by the public health team remains strong in our community. Councillors, the recommendation is that Council receive and note the Public Health Quarterly Activity Report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Councillors, I will quickly open up for any last questions. I will ask for a councillor prepared to move. Councillor Wilson, thank you. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, opportunity to speak to your motion.
Well, I think we're all the community's to be commended on its compliance and respect for compliance issues. That's really pleasing that for the council they're not having to deal with hideous non-compliance issues. So the community's to be commended for their compliance. But I think this is also another report that the community isn't necessarily cognisant of the work in the background that the council has obligations to undertake. So when people are thinking, well, what on earth are my rates doing? And, you know, it's all about roads, rates and rubbish. Here's an example of some of the other things that council has obligations to do that we do very well. But it's not something that's sort of always at the forefront of everybody's mind. But like I say, the community's to be commended for its compliance.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Angelo, the opportunity to speak if you'd like.
I just agree
Sorry, microphone, Councillor Angelo.
Sorry, I just agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak for or against if you'd like. I'm going to put it to the vote. Show of
No,
hands
thanks, Mr. Mayor.
in favour. Thank you. Carried. 11.4 Statutory Planning Quarterly Report. Director Van Also.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Straub. This report provides Council with a summary of statutory planning activities undertaken during the fourth quarter of the 24-25 financial year. It outlines the volume and types of planning applications processed, performance against statutory timeframes, and key trends in development activity across the municipality. Council's planning team continues to deliver timely and efficient assessments of applications under the Planning and Environment Act, with 89% of permits issued within the required 60-day timeframe. This is significantly outperforming the rural council average. The report also highlights the importance of maintaining adequate resources to support statutory planning functions and ensure compliance with legislative obligations. The recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the statutory planning quarterly report for April to June 2025. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, opportunity to ask any last questions or comments. If not, I will ask if there's a councillor prepared to move a motion to that effect. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor to second. Councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I always think this is a very interesting report because where we talk about this clock starting to tick at 60 days, quite often we see reports that it can blow out. The clock stops when we have to pass an application on to another agency for them to do their bit. Their timeframes may differ from ours, if I'm correct. So where we talk about 60 days, we haven't got complete control of those 60 days. And I think have learnt that last year, and I think it's a very interesting piece of information for the community to understand as well if they're thinking we're not meeting those obligations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver, would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Angelo, would you like to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We have 4 more reports to go. 11.5, our Building Services Quarterly Activity Report. Director Van Also, please.
Yep, thank you. Through you, Mayor Straub. This report provides Council with a summary of building services activities undertaken during the fourth quarter of the 2024-25 financial year. The report outlines key functions delivered by the Municipal Building Surveyor, including permit issuance, statutory enforcement and advisory services. During the fourth quarter, Council issued 34 building permits with a total value of works exceeding $9.5 million, reflecting ongoing investment and development activity. In addition, 14 final inspections and 9 occupancy permits were completed. These figures serve as indicators of construction progress and the transition of projects towards completion. Council officers continue to support permit holders by issuing reminders ahead of permit expiry, helping to ensure compliance and reduce the risk of unfinalised or abandoned works. The report also outlines enforcement activities including follow-up on fire-damaged buildings, unauthorised works and safety-related issues. The recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the Building Services Quarterly Activity Report. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van Also. Councillors, opportunity to ask any last-minute questions. Otherwise, I will ask a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor, happy to second, please. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, I'll give you the opportunity to speak if you'd like.
Mayor, if I may, one of the roles that the council has under the CEO is to have a building inspector surveyor employed. That building inspector surveyor has delegations and legislative obligations and I'm just trying to think of the right word, that they alone have. And they are outside of the control of the rest of council. And I think it's probably timely to just reinforce that to the community, is that where the building inspecting surveyor is operating, that is is outside the purview or the remit of councillors, and I think that's timely to reinforce that. If I've said that correctly, Mayor, the CEO may want to clarify what I've said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Mr Fitzgerald, I'll give you the opportunity to clarify any of that. There is a lot of legal obligations that a municipal building surveyor has to operate in, and a lot of liability that he takes upon in any matter dealing with building surveying and planning parameters.
Yeah, look, thank you for the opportunity, Mayor Straub and Councillor Wilson. Largely, that's correct. There's some minor things there around it's a municipal building surveyor that is appointed by council. However, delivers upon the outcomes of the Building Act and has a statutory role there, which is beyond any intervention from council in many respects. There are things that obviously the building surveyor does on behalf of council. At the end of the day, it's about ensuring that buildings and structures are safe and our community is protected. So, yes, I think it's a pretty good summary from Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you for some clarifications there. Councillor Angelo, I'll give you the opportunity to speak as the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. In favour, excellent. That is carried. Councillors, we'll move on to 11.6, our strategic planning quarterly report. Director Van also again, please.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straub. This report provides Council with a summary of strategic planning activities undertaken during the fourth quarter of 2024-25 financial year. Strategic planning plays a critical role in shaping the future growth and development of the municipality by ensuring that Loddon Planning Scheme remains current, evidence-based and aligned with Council's broader objectives. During this reporting period, the Strategic Planner has progressed several key initiatives, including advancing Amendment C48, which seeks to implement the recommendations of the Loddon Planning Scheme Review, preparing for a flood-related planning scheme amendment to incorporate findings from multiple flood studies, supporting the commencement of the Wedderburn Flood Management Plan, securing funding and initiating work on structure plans for Bridgewater and Inglewood, and beginning the land use planning process for Newbridge. These projects are essential to guiding sustainable development, managing environmental risks and supporting infrastructure investment across the Shire. The report outlines the progress made, funding outcomes and next steps for each project. The recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the Strategic Planning Quarterly Activity Report for April to June 2025. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, another report with plenty of detail. Is there a councillor prepared to move to the report? Councillor Angelo? Yes, thank you. Councillor prepared to second? Looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, I'll give you the opportunity to speak if you'd like.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
No? No? No other councillor wishing to speak for or against? I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. Thank you, and that report is carried. 11.7, our Tourism and Economic Development Quarterly Activity Report, and I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald, please, to deliver the report.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, I'm pleased to present the Tourism and Economic Development Quarterly Activity Report. This is a very extensive report and it includes quite a lot of indicators, and I'll let people peruse those at their own leisure. However, I guess some of that data is around key economic data on performance indicators for Loddon from 2024 to now, as well as SpendMap data from June 2025. There's a lot in there around digital and media statistics and insights over the same period, and visitor footfall numbers through our Visitor Information Centre, and a bit of information about what they were interested in and how long they were staying for. The report also includes the Tourism and Economic Development Department activity, key operations and projects for that same period. A few of the highlights were securing funding for the Loddon Workforce Expo to take place in Pyramid Hill in October 2025, supported the establishment of a retailers group in Inglewood, led the inclusion of the Loddon Shire in a network of 120 local government areas that participated in the livability census, which essentially gives us a bit of a report card on how we can become a better place to live and enjoy. Loddon has also partnered with the City of Greater Bendigo and the state government, and importantly, the tourism sector and stakeholders to form an entity called Destination Greater Bendigo Loddon, which is really looking at how do we partner to make sure that we can make the most of the experiences and capture tourism wherever possible, and see that economic development occur within our municipality. Of course, councillors, I'll ask you to put your mind back to Loddon providing event support in the national orienteering events back in April. Incredibly positive, and as you can see from the data, there was an additional $116,000 spent in the municipality over that period, over the long Anzac Day long weekend. So just shows you the importance of events and what we do in this space to ensure that we support and provide a value add to our businesses within the community. Because the data, as you've seen, some of the spending's flat, other things are going well and other things are challenging. So a really important role, and I do commend all the work that the staff have done. The recommendation, councillors, is that council receive and note the Tourism and Economic Development Quarterly Activity Report for April to June 2025. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, I'll open it up for any questions, queries or comments regarding the report. A lot of detail in there, everything's spelled out pretty clearly, and it's good to see some real positivity in a greater local spend. Councillors, I'll ask for a motion. Thank you, Councillor Wilson to move. Councillor to second, please. Oh, I think Councillor Weaver just bet you Councillor Angelo. I'll give you the opportunity to speak though. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. When you read this report, I can't help but think that our Economic Development Department must have about 50 people in it, because apart from the fact that the report is so extensive, but there is so much going on in this space, and clearly it's been identified as a key strategy for the council, so much so that this reports directly into the CEO because it's so important. I just think that David Stretch is to be so highly commended for his work in this space, because it's just a powerhouse of work that he's doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And look out, Councillor Weaver, you've been promoted.
Oh, wouldn't worry me. I'd have a go at it.
Councillor Angelo, would you like... Sorry. Councillor Weaver seconded that motion. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Just well done to everyone in that sector of the Shire. Getting people in here to see what we've got to offer. The spend surrounding the orienteering weekend, that was a great result. So well done to all involved.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Angelo, opportunity if you'd like to speak for or against.
I'll make a quick comment. David Stretch and his team just going all out on their documents for tourism for Loddon Shire, and it's great to see. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. It is a great report. It has been a directive by council to focus a lot on our tourism and economic development, and these reports show how that is progressing and the achievements we've had over the past two council groups. It does seem like there's 50-odd council staff working under that banner, but Mr. Fitzgerald, how many is in that department? There's not a lot.
There's one person in economic development, and then we have a full-time and a couple of part-time people assisting in tourism, and a lot of volunteers who should be really celebrated because they do an amazing job. Thank you.
Yes, that is a great point. We do really appreciate the volunteerism effort across Loddon. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much for everyone who volunteers in a community group or a sporting group even across the municipality. Councillors, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Excellent. Councillors, we're coming to our last report in today's agenda, 12.1. Our Local Laws and Planning Compliance Quarterly Activity Report, and Director Gladman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this report provides the Local Laws Animal Control Report for the fourth quarter of the 2024-25 year, as well as highlighting the annual trends. During the fourth quarter, local laws officers responded to 2 cases of illegal dumping and issued 28 local law permits. 18 unsightly property sites were monitored, with 4 resolved and 2 new cases opened. Animal management was a major focus for this quarter. Officers dealt with 7 after-hours call-outs, 38 wandering livestock and 25 trespassing livestock, 16 dogs involved in dog attacks, which was a notable increase compared to previous quarters. We had 32 other domestic animals at large and 18 cat traps were issued to residents. In terms of impoundments, a total of 165 animals were taken in during the quarter. That included 87 livestock, 43 dogs, 14 cats and 21 feral animals, and of those the majority were returned or rehomed. In planning compliance, 7 new cases were investigated, with 15 matters ongoing at the close of the quarter, and these mainly related to unapproved land use, vegetation removal and breaches of planning permits. Looking across the full year, some key patterns emerge as well. The local laws officers issued 79 local laws permits. Additionally, in partnership with the Municipal Fire Prevention Officer, 147 fire prevention notices were issued in the lead up and during summer last year. Animal management was one of the largest workloads for the team. Officers responded to 16 after-hours call-outs, 124 wandering livestock, 78 trespassing livestock, 24 dogs involved in dog attacks. They also dealt with 55 domestic animals at large and distributed 38 cat traps throughout the year, and had 225 other animal-related complaints. In total, 333 animals were impounded across the year. Of these, 233 were livestock, 80 dogs, 32 cats and 38 feral animals, with the majority either returned to owners or rehomed. In summary, quarter 4 highlighted a busy period for animal management, particularly livestock incidents and dog attacks, while the annual data shows the scale of the workload across the local laws, animal control and planning compliance team. Officers continued to balance proactive engagement with residents and businesses alongside the enforcement that's required when necessary to ensure safety, compliance and community confidence. The recommendation before you, councillors, is that council receive and note the local laws and planning compliance quarterly activity report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Gladman. Councillors, I'll open it up for any questions. If not, I will ask for a councillor prepared to move to the motion. If there's a councillor prepared to move. No, it has been a long day. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A councillor to second. Councillor Angelo, thank you very much. Councillor Weaver, you've got the opportunity to speak if you'd like.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just think the council does a very good job on the livestock front, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Angelo, opportunity if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wilson. In that case, I will ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Compliance reports. Councillors, we have no compliance reports for consideration today. Likewise, no matters have been admitted as urgent business for consideration today, and there is no confidential items to consider today. Council has now addressed all items in today's agenda. I thank you all for your participation in today's meeting. Councillors, council staff, we thank our gallery in the chamber and also all community members attending our online stream. I can now declare today's meeting closed at 4:40 p.m. Thank you very much. The live stream will now be terminated.